And I think he realized that. He realized that if he could get through the drama, if you like, of the family involvement, that we would be successful as a couple, because at the end of the day, all of that drama does not necessarily come with you. You have to start living your own life. We had 3 very young children at the time. So we basically got engrossed in raising them and kind of overcame it by stubbornness of knowing that's what we wanted. This is what we wanted. I truly was in love with Daddy. I think he was truly in love with us. He was definitely in love with the girls. And I think that made a huge difference to how, I don't think he would have ever walked away at that point after a few years of seeing what we could be together as a family.
Yeah.
You have anything to add to that, or?
No.
Okay. What do you think makes a happy marriage?
Oh, loads of stuff. I think a happy marriage is when my daughter Ashley pointed out to me not too long ago that somebody that she met said, let the men think they're the bosses and in control, and life will be good. You know for a fact that you're in control. And I think that has, as silly as it may sound, it has a lot of credence. But on the not so flippant side of it, I think happy marriage is when both people, can appreciate the value that each of them bring to the relationship. I think a happy marriage is when both people can realize the things that makes the other person tick, the simple things that makes the other person feel a part of the relationship. There's obviously a lot of learning curves. I think in our particular marriage, I know I'm a very strong woman. I was a very strong woman before I married Daddy. Probably got stronger after I married him. But I think the everyday, I think when you close your eyes at nighttime and go to bed and you know that the other person that you are with has your back, regardless of what's coming down the pike, that makes a good marriage. There is somebody there, even through the downtimes. Yeah. I think that's what gets you up to the good times. You just, we've had our share of battles back and forth. We couldn't say we didn't, but I think we always know at the end of the day. Daddy said, "What do you say to me? I love you anyway." Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I probably have more insight into it since
Yeah.
you
So
for me, that can't, or I'm very spontaneous. Daddy is not, but I think you've come to learn over the last few years. What the heck? We'll do it anyway, because it makes her happy. And likewise, I see sometimes that there's things that make you happy that not necessarily, I'm like, well, that doesn't make me happy, but I'll go with the program because it makes you happy. And then we come back around to our whole selves again. But I think a happy marriage, you definitely have to be involved with someone that you are friends with, like you would care about a friend, like you would care about your spouse. Apart from the love aspect of it, I think a friendship is very important, that you know that person, no matter what's going on in the world or no matter what you've encountered, I can always go tell him or her. I'm back at that comfort level again. I think that's a good way to describe our marriage, at least.
Yeah.
How do you overcome difficulties and differences that you come across as a couple and as individuals?
I think we kind of answered that.
Yeah. Well, difficulties and differences. Obviously, we have both. I think we have much more differences that we deal with than difficulties. Daddy is culturally very different. But I think he's very open within that difference. And I think that makes it easier to do the difficulties. The difficulties, I think personally speaking, those just have to be hashed out. Hash them and hash them and hash them until you come. And I think the other thing, as your marriage gets more long term, like we're 15 years married now, just about, and I think now we're at a point where we say, you know, the difficulties, you put the difficulties in perspective, right? You don't, what might have been difficult for us 10 years ago is not so difficult today in perspective.
Right.
You look at things very differently. You basically almost grow and mature into your marriage with a different, like, you know, difficulties become, what is a difficulty? I mean, obviously we did, you know, Daddy still is Muslim, I'm still Catholic, I respect that, he respects me. We don't bring the religion to any kind of a cultural, that's never been a difference for us. That's, I mean, Daddy's come to Mass with us, he comes to Mass with us on Christmas Eve. I've actually never been back to the mosque since I was married in the mosque. But, because I don't feel like I belong in the mosque, whereas Daddy doesn't mind going down to the church with us and sitting us in the pew. He doesn't see it as a big, you know, he sees us, maybe he just does it because there's 4 of us and 1 of him. And it's just, he just does that. And then that becomes no difference. But our difficulties, I think we've managed our difficulties. We've gotten a better understanding of our difficulties. I'm very verbal, and I usually don't let things suffer on too long. I think at this point, Daddy probably knows, oh boy, I better sort this out before she comes after me with the hatchet. But I think that's really a good way to describe our difficulties. And
Anything you wanted to add, Dad?
yeah.
No.
Okay.
I don't think about religion. I think that would be my comment.
Okay. What are 3 characteristics of one another that you love the most?
Hmm.
3 characteristics of Daddy that I would love the most would be a couple of ones. Of course, he's very handsome. That's always helpful.
So me, for Mama, I would say very strong personality. That's one of the reasons the attraction was there. I needed somebody very strong. She's very meticulous, which I really like, about everything. You know, from taking care of the family to making sure the house is run well, the way she'll organize things, or even just the way the house is decorated. You know, I don't have to worry about that. I know she's got it.
He doesn't have to worry about the snow blowing either.
I don't have to worry about the snow blowing either. And I think at the end of the day, she's, you know, I think she's well grounded, and you know, that's basically what's good. She's grounded. She knows what taking care of people is like. You know, raising a family and you know, being part of the extended family. That's really important too.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
What strengths do you draw from one another?
Well, I'll answer it. I think strong personality. I will go back to that. I think she's got it, and it's made me stronger in my approach in life. I would say I think Mommy she's got a really funny side, and that's made me come out on the funny side also. I think it's a strength, but I think both of us have this. We like to think about things from a long range perspective. You know, what do we really want to do in the next chapter of our life or whatever it might be. And we think through it, we talk about it, we think through it, we talk about it. We don't just rush into things. And I think that's a very good strength because you can make mistakes if you rush into things very quickly.
The strengths that I would draw from
Except
Daddy
Debbie.
would be, yeah, I think he's very good. He's always thinking about how we can be debt-free. You know, reducing our debt so we get to a very comfortable place in a few years so we can help our girls with their families. I think that's very important to me, and you both, where we are when it will be time for our children to have their children and how we can help them. I think we talk about that, you know, regularly. I think that's a strength within both of us. That's evident. Yeah, and generally speaking, I think we're always trying to improve where we are and where we're going, you know, as a couple. But I think as a couple, we don't really consider ourselves just a couple. I don't think we think really. A lot of couples that I know think about their future and where it's going to take them for them. I think we think differently. I think we think where our life is going to take us and for the girls. I think that's a big, you know, we're always talking about, you know, when our children have children, how we'll be able to help them and support them and want to do good for them and help them raise their children. And
We do.
Alright, what's your advice of having a long-lasting and happy marriage?
well, I think it's basically everything that we've discussed. I think that your marriage has to be based on a friendship with the person that you're going to marry. You have to be friends with the person. You have to love really everything about that person, and as if you were 5 years old. Friends, you know, you have to be willing to do stuff that you don't want to do that person does that makes that person happy. That has to work both ways. And I'm not talking about big stuff, I'm talking about the small things. You have to get a grip of the small things that are important to the other person. Like, well, I'm very happy when I see Daddy out there mowing the grass and blowing the leaves when I haven't even asked him.
And
Like,
I
makes
love
my
it when
day.
she's doing the snow.
I mean, I love when I see Daddy going out there and saying, okay, so I see that as an investment in our relationship. An investment of, okay, I know this is going to make her happy. I think Daddy has gotten to the point now where he doesn't mind being outside doing it, but initially in our marriage, I don't think he liked any of that yard work stuff, but he did it out of obligation.
I disagree with
Now,
that.
okay, well, you may.
Yeah.
Now he's out there, you know, mowing and blowing and cleaning, and I think it makes me feel good that that's important to him. I think your marriage has to be made up of significant details that may not be gigantic, but that are important to the other person. I think that's critical. Whether it's buying your house together or buying your car, or, you know, the decisions that we made about our children, I think it's critical that, you know, small things are almost made huge things. Like a small thing to me that might be minute to another person is huge to me. Huge. I think it's critical to get into the skin or get under the skin of the other person and basically sees what makes them tick. That's, or thinking, for me personally, is when Daddy is able to think ahead of me. Okay, now you know, obviously that comes with living with each other and doing stuff. So sometimes I don't want to be always the one who's doing and thinking, and I'm delighted when Daddy starts thinking, let me